Hey, welcome to the Publish, Promote, Profit podcast with me, Rob Kosberg. Every week, I interview thought leaders and experts who have used a book to grow their income and their impact. So tune in weekly for these interviews so you can learn how to use your own best-selling book and go from hunting for clients and opportunities to instead being the hunted. All right, hey, everybody, welcome. I'm Rob Kosberg, and very excited to be with you today for our Publish, Promote, Profit podcast. I have actually a friend with me today and somebody that I think many of you already know or have heard of, Mr. Perry Marshall. And I am going to read a little bit about Perry here because there's so much to say. But I love the first part of your bio, Perry. Perry is one of the most expensive business strategists in the world. I love that. I know that it's true. And I know where some of that came from, which we'll be talking about that today. But you're endorsed, of course, by Forbes and Inc. I did not know that you were involved with FanDuel. Of course, InfusionSoft, I knew that. But FanDuel, holy cow, from helping these companies to go from startup to hundreds of millions of dollars. You mentioned the $10 million Evolution 2.0 prize, which, of course, we love that. I love your Evolution 2.0 book. Highly, highly recommend it to people.
Well, your company helped me quite a bit with that project, and it was fantastic. So
thank you, my friend.
You guys got me on a TV station in Virginia once. So
I remember that. That was pretty cool. And of course, all of what you've done with it is just amazing. I mean, it's the world's largest science research award, which is incredible. This touches my heart a little bit. I think you know, but maybe you don't, but I did not know this. NASA's JPL, Jet Propulsion Labs, uses your 80-20 curve as a productivity tool. And my middle son, Jake, works for NASA JPL. And right out of college, he got his degree in math and physics and basically really is a coder and had an internship with a man named Kevin Hand, who actually is a fairly famous scientist. He was the guy that went down to the bottom of the Marianas Trench with James Cameron in a submarine.
Wow.
And very, very cool. And so this guy just fell in love with Jake, my middle son, and he's been working for NASA for almost 3 years now, which is crazy and cool at the same time. And anyway, of course, I got to know you originally from your Ultimate Guide to Google AdWords, and that's the biggest and world's best-selling book on internet advertising. And so thanks for being here. Thanks for taking some time. We're going to talk about your new project and what you're doing, which is a phenomenal book that everybody needs to get. But at any rate, welcome to 2021. And how did you get out of 2020?
2020 actually was a very, very productive year for me.
Nice.
And I would just generally comment that the people that I know that are really committed to excellence. And I know that sounds really cliche, but I mean, people who are, let's say they're hard ass about excellence.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Darren Spindler is a friend of mine in Wisconsin, Green Bay, Wisconsin, has a pizza restaurant called Heartland Pizza. He's had his best year ever, despite the fact that the dining room's been closed most of the year. No alcohol, only takeout and delivery.
Wow.
And if you go hunt for it, I've got an interview with him and you can hear him explain. But by the time he gets done explaining all of the ways in which he has built excellence into his processes, it's not surprising that business for him actually went up instead of down when the world just went sideways. I've had arguably my most productive year ever.
Wow.
Despite I got all the same aches and pains about all this stuff as anybody.
Right.
And helping clients pivot. Not all of them have been great. Like the guy in the trade show business, not so great.
Right.
I don't know how to carry out and deliver a trade show. Okay.
Right.
But really, I mean, this is watching people just maneuver and go, okay, one thing I know is there's more problems to go out and solve now than there was before. So we're going to go out and solve problems. There is money in the world. It's not like it all went away.
Right.
So I'm going to go solve a problem and I'm going to collect some money and like, we're going to make things happen. And that's been the prevailing attitude. And yeah, like my business, I mean, a lot of my business is live events. So I've had the same craziness as anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. And mine as well, although I hate to travel, as you maybe know a little bit, but all the live events we've done have always been in my backyard when we were in California. At the same time, though, I'm like, why can't I do a live event just as a challenge or a webinar or fill in the blank? I mean, aren't those live and aren't those events? And yes to both of those things. And
right.
Yep,
right.
we had our best net revenue year ever, and our gross was down slightly. But, a little bit of this to do even more amazing things. And of course, I want to get to that in just a second, but let me make a damning admission if I could. So I do quote you quite often. And, I've been on your email list and a part of the Renaissance group and various things that you've done. And, of course, on your email list, I remembered some time ago, and this is years ago, you sent an email. And I don't even remember why you sent the email because I just clipped a part of it. But you talked about the importance of writing a book, and you said that there were several bullet points that you made, and I actually took a clip of it, and I show it on my webinar. And in fact, I did a webinar once for you, and you may remember I actually showed that clip as well. And you talked about how your income grew 500%. When you wrote your first book, and a number of other things, and just the power of a book. So I actually quote you quite often. I just did a big webinar last week with over 1,000 attendees, and of course that was my intro, along with some Dan Kennedy stuff, which of course I know you're a dear friend and big fan of Dan's. So maybe let's start with the general and go to the specific about the new book. Tell me about why you wrote your first book, and then did it lead to surprising things for you, and in what ways has it helped you to kind of expand your business in amazing ways or not?
Well, so tell me how you want to dial in. I could tell you about my first book, the first book I'm actually known for.
Yeah.
They both helped me.
The first book was an engineering book, right? I know the whole story. So how about the one you're known for? Because that's your business now.
The one I'm known for is Ultimate Guide to Google Ads.
Right.
Which is now in its 6th edition. It's sold about 100,000 copies. Now, before that book came out, I was a guy who engineer turned marketer who hung out his shingle after 9/11.
Yeah, great timing.
Okay, yeah, which I didn't. You got to remember, it's a lot like COVID. It was like, okay, at the time, this seemed like a really bad time to leave your employer. It was actually the best time. I mean, literally, I would say 9/11 was when the world switched from job to gig economy.
Beautiful.
Okay?
Yeah. But you didn't know. Yeah, that's all hindsight, right? Yeah.
No, all I knew, there was a lady, she told me, she was a financial planner. She said, the times of greatest uncertainty are the times of greatest opportunity, which is true. In fact, that's kind of what we've been talking about for the last 10 minutes with, Aaron's Pizza Restaurant and stuff. It's like, you don't run away from the burning building, you run into the burning building,
right? But
you don't save the building, you save the people.
Right.
Okay? Do not save building. Do not use any of your buckets of water on the building. Just get the people, right?
Love it.
So what happened was I got invited to speak at Ken McCarthy's system seminar. Ken goes, who should I get to speak on Google Ads? And I gave him a name, and he talked to that guy, and the guy turned him down. He comes back to me, he says, I think you should speak at my seminar. Now, you got to picture this. I'm a guy, I've been a diligent student of marketing for 6 years, and I've done some interesting stuff, but I've got a lot more in my head than I've actually been able to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I've heard how this game works. I've listened to tapes about this. Okay, so I got to have, when I go to the seminar, I got to have something to sell. Okay, and all of that. So, I guess I'm now in the Google advertising education business.
Nice.
And I have to write some kind of a book.
Yeah.
Right. Which originally the idea was, this is going to be a course and I'm going to put it in a binder and I'm going to sell it to the back of the room. But within a couple months, it was now an ebook that I sold for like $100 because people were doing that back then. That was kind of a common thing. Okay. And the ebook sales took off. Now, what I think is probably pertinent to your readers is the ebook was making money, but a strange thing happened. I was at a mastermind meeting and everybody naively, not really knowing the rules, agreed, I think we should all have Wikipedia pages.
Okay.
And so we all paired up. It's like, okay, so you write one for him and she writes one for you. We were totally clueless about, had no idea how stringent Wikipedia is. So somebody makes me a page and they put it up there. And a day later, it gets tagged. And the tag at the top says, "This appears to be a vanity article about a non-notable person. This article will be deleted unless adequate references are added."
Wow. Non-notable person. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. Rob, I
love it.
Is so you got to slow down and really understand what's happened here, because what had happened was a bunch of people in a very particular strand of marketing and affiliate marketing and certain internet advertising people was like, "Oh man, this is like the hottest book. Oh, this is so great."
Right.
The rest of the world, totally clueless. Okay. And I could go to a marketing seminar, everybody's like, "Oh, you're Perry Marshall. Well, I like it." I would get that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, again, big fish, tiny pond, tiny.
Yeah.
So we're like, "Oh, okay, let's add some references." There was not one single standard media mention that any journalist would consider to be real anywhere.
Right.
Nothing. And the Wikipedia page came down, right? There was nothing we could do to save it. And I had an existential moment. It's like, "Perry, okay, big fish, little pond, good strategy. That's a good idea. Fine so far. But you are nobody." Nobody.
Right.
Okay. And do not drink your own pink Kool-Aid. The only way the world is going to consider you valid is if you have a book in the bookstore and you're quoted in the Washington Post or whatever. Okay. And you're going to have to go play that game. And I was smart enough to realize if I don't play this game, somebody else will.
Yeah.
And right now I'm selling this ebook for $49, $97 and I'm making a lot of money, but it ain't going to be long before there is a $15 or $20 book on Amazon and they're going to go buy that. And if you don't do it first, you're history.
Yeah. Yep.
And you're going to have to do a book in such a way that actually has some longevity. So I got an agent. And I took this business that I was making money on these books. And I was I basically cannibalized it. And
Sure.
I gave it to a book publisher. And I said, "Well, I hate giving up this income, but I am actually going to trade income for credibility and permanence. Because if I can establish myself as the lead dog in the main book industry for Google Ads and not just this weird little cult of affiliate marketing, okay, which is the most ephemeral business on earth.
Right.
You're going to have to make that trade. Okay. You're going to have to buckle down and make an actual book and do all this. So I did. Okay. And I took a hit in income. It's all right, well, I'm going to have to make it up in the back end, make it up on coaching and all this other stuff. I could see the writing on the wall. The Kindle was coming out.
Yeah.
And stuff. And so that's what I did. And Rob, that's one of the smartest things I ever did in my life. I mean, the USA Today wanted to talk to me a month after the book came out. And,
Wow.
then I'm in USA Today, right? And look, being in USA Today probably is not going to do you a bit of good in terms of it's probably ain't going to sell any books. It's probably not to get you any clients, but what it does is it credentializes you
Yep.
as somebody who's actually real. Like, I actually have a Wikipedia page now.
You're somebody that's notable now.
Yeah, and I'll even add, because of my evolution project, some of the Wikipedia editors did not like me at all.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Because of the Evolution 2.0 stuff.
Right.
No kidding.
Because they don't like the spin that I put on it. And so, like, there's all these arguments and fights on the top page about, it's like, hey, man, like, this guy has way too much street cred in marketing for you to delete him because you don't like what he's doing in science.
Right.
And so, dude, like, the way that I think about it, it's like, you're a tree and you get planted. It's like, dude, you got to put down roots.
Yeah.
You need every bit of credibility that you can. You need it. Like, if you're going to be taken seriously as a thought leader, then in any medium that the world takes seriously that you can, which, it could be Joe Rogan, I suppose, or it could be Vsauce, or it could be Popular Mechanics, or, whatever media outlets that the world does actually take seriously, you've got to have a place in there. And, like, being an author is a really good way to do that. It's pretty hard not to do it if you're not an author. I mean, okay, Joe Rogan didn't write a book,
right,
and that's fine. But generally, you need that kind of credibility, especially if you are, like, a thought leader, if you want your ideas to be taken seriously. So, yeah, I mean, it's been actually quite the adventure. It's a very important part of what I do. Oh, and I want to throw in something else unadvertised, okay?
Yeah.
This book, you're the one that convinced me to do this. So,
really?
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to hear about that.
Up to that point, I had actually been fairly happy with my relationship with my publisher. And the only thing I was unhappy with was the fact that when I sell 80/20 books on my website, I still have to buy them from the book publisher, which is kind of perverse.
Kind of sucks.
But you said, because we were talking on your webinar and you were making a case for self-publishing.
Right.
You said, Perry, there's actually really hardly ever any good reason to go with a traditional publisher anymore. True. And I was like, ding, ooh, I think he's actually right.
Yeah. Control it.
We did self-publish this thing. So thank you, Rob. You didn't know this.
Well, thank you for that. That's you're making a beautiful case. I mean, I don't often hear that from people, quite frankly, about, the willingness to trade dollars for credibility. Yeah. I love the story. I didn't know that story. I knew that you were making money, and I knew that you were selling, and I bought one of the first editions of it going all the way back. So I knew that, but what I didn't know was the trade-off that you had to make, and obviously it was smart. But even at the time, I bet it was a little like, is this really a good idea, Oh, right. I mean, who cares if I have a Wikipedia page or not? But obviously you were thinking much bigger than that.
Well, I was thinking much bigger. It wasn't about having a Wikipedia
Right,
page.
I know.
It was a canary in the coal mine. It was like, Perry, don't be a legend in your own mind and get caught up in the tiny little echo chamber of internet marketing.
Yeah.
Because you need to be taken seriously way far beyond that. And I'll tell you, when you have significant street cred from external sources, the whole world really does deal with you at a different level. Yep. They take it seriously. In fact, Rob, you would be surprised at how many science doors my marketing background has opened for me. For example, I was asked to speak at a university a couple of years ago, and I go there, and the head of the department and one of his professors take me out to dinner. And the first question was, so how do we get our department to rank on Google?
That's awesome.
This is not the conversation I thought I was going to have with a guy who runs a physics department, if you know what I mean.
That's fantastic. I love it.
So, and expertise opens doors and crosses disciplines.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, whatever, in every person listening, you're going to have your own particular eccentric way that you roll in the world, and the people that you relate to, and the media outlets that resonate with you. But you need to take that really seriously.
Love it. Love it. Beautiful, Perry. Hey, let's talk about this. I guess we'll skip over Evolution 2.0 a little bit, but if anybody does want to look into that, they should. It's fantastic. I've read this a couple of times and have gone through several of these steps. I love it. It's small. Like I said before to you, it's one of the most powerful and actionable things I've ever read. Detox, declutter, dominate. You know, you start the book with this, with your own damning confession, which, you know, I respect and appreciate because that's the last thing I would think about you. I mean, you're the engineer guy, right? Of course you have all of your numbers like on a spreadsheet and you know everything that's going on, you know, and so I go, oh, okay, wow, Perry's a real person. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Actually, okay, so the truth about me, Rob, is as a CEO, I mean, you call me a CEO because I am, you know, and I've got a dozen employees and, you know, running a company. I am more like an artist and a guy dancing on an airplane wing than I am like an engineer with all my spreadsheets and stuff. The truth is, I struggle to be interested in financials, reporting, spreadsheets, management, all of that stuff. And that actually is why the story in the book is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Because what happened was it was a winter day, kind of like today, talking on the phone in my office. And I looked through my French doors and the president of my company is in the next room, unannounced from Nebraska.
Whoa.
And I'm in Chicago. And I'm like, what's he doing here?
Something's going on.
I get off the phone. Brian, what's up? Perry, we need to discuss cash flow. Okay. And now I am like most marketing and salespeople. Oh, cash flow. I know how to talk about that. We're going to sell something, Brian. Don't you know this? Don't you know about, and we have this is like 3:00 in the afternoon. We argued until 11.
Wow.
And we like all over the place. Like, and he's like, Perry, we have too much overhead. We have too much expenses. We have too many employees. We have not enough money coming in. It's like, but Brian, you don't understand. Like, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And it took about 3 months. So I won the argument and he went home. And about 3 months later, it was like, I won the argument, but he was right.
Yeah.
And dude, that is not good.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know what? You're going to have to get your ass off that airplane wing and into the airplane, and you're going to have to pilot this thing. You got to make sure we don't like smack into the side of a mountain.
Right.
Okay. And this is what happened to me. And most of that year was completely flipping my understanding upside down, because at that point I'd been in business for 15 years. And the solution to everything was always to add something.
Yeah.
We're going to do another program and another product and another this and another that and whatever. Okay. And it was like, dude, you got too much stuff going on and you have too much complexity. You have too many hypodermic needles sticking out of your arm. Okay. And it's draining your blood. And like you're rowing really hard to make this thing go. And look, it's way easier to get into stuff than it is to get out of it.
Right. So true.
Okay. And so we spent several months chipping away, reducing staff, reducing vendors, cutting product lines. Do we really need to do this? Right. And look, the way it works is like you do a round of it and then you circle around to the first stuff and all of a sudden everything looks different. It's like, well, yeah, we could take away this, we could take away this, and we take away this. So this was painful. This was just not fun. And on top of that, for whatever reason, I don't know how the cosmos works, but it was like, right about the time, after Brian confronted me, it was like our sales just started sagging.
Great.
It was like the universe knew that Perry's in denial and like
we need to wake him up.
It was not fun, but by the time I get to the end, it was like, wow, this ship is a lot easier to run now that all that ballast and barnacles are gone.
You have over your shoulder your 80/20 book. And, for people that don't know, you are, I don't know, would fanatical be fair to say about, the Pareto Principle? Is that kind of where the genesis of that was? Is that where it started?
Yeah. So I'll give you another confession. I did a fairly famous seminar with Richard Koch in 2014. It was
Right.
$70 a head.
Yeah.
And people were still talking about it. It was incredible. And the day after the seminar, I go to Richard's hotel room and we have a little debrief. And so we talked about, okay, how it all went and stuff. And I was about to leave and I go, Richard, you've been working a lot more closely with us now for a year and we've done all this. Are there any observations or helpful comments that you might have for me or anything that I should probably know? And he goes, yes, Perry, you are the epitome of 2080.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Just give me a knife to the heart.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Why did he say that? Was there something that stood out or?
Well, now, if you've read Richard, you would understand this even better. But because he's like a Zen-like minimalist, he's like, Harry, you do so much stuff. It's unbelievable. Okay. I think one of my flaws and strengths, both, I'm sure, is FOMO, fear of missing out.
Right.
Right. And, and I love, I love doing all these crazy things.
Yeah.
It's fun. But Richard, literally says no to 99% of anything that crosses his desk. I mean, that guy, it is so hard, investment. And no. Okay. That one. Right.
No kidding.
I mean, in the last 6 years, he's gone from being worth 200 million to $1 billion.
Wow.
Okay. His investment track record rivals Warren Buffett.
No kidding.
So, but he's like, dude, you got way too much stuff going on. And he said to me, look, what you need to do is you need to go to the chapter in my 80/20 book where I talk about basically finding the parts of your business that are losing money and the product lines that are losing money, the clients that are losing money, the employees that are losing you money, the vendors that are losing you money. And it's tedious. And you kind of got to do some cost accounting and stuff, but you need to get rid of stuff. And I was like, yeah, okay. And it took, a year or two. And it was like, Perry, you're going to do this. And so I guess what I'm describing is like an intervention that was forced upon me.
Interesting.
Where I had to take my own medicine.
Yeah.
I was saying that 80/20 is about elimination. And I say no to a lot of things. Don't get me wrong. Right. But I was still saying yes to too many things. And so it was this complete inversion. And so we canceled product lines and we got rid of people and we scaled things down. And I changed my mindset about growth and scale. To be honest with you, Rob, I think scale is way overrated right now.
Oh, I so agree. So agree.
We're going to 10X. Well, it's probably physically impossible. You haven't figured it out yet. Okay. And you could burn all kinds of rocket fuel finding out that it's not possible.
Right.
I've done that. Okay. And the truth is, so one of the things I had to kind of internalize was, so Perry, you realize if you take 80/20 seriously, you have to believe that you can make 95% as much money with 70% as much activity. It's almost guaranteed to be true.
Right.
And if you get rid of all this overhead, it's okay, maybe your revenue is 85% or 90% of what it was before, but your profit could actually be higher. And you could do it with half the staff or half the products or half the clients or whatever.
Half the hassle.
It's almost always true. Just about anybody, there is fire one employee, fire one client, discontinue one product line, and you will instantly make more money with less effort.
Yeah. I love
it's almost guaranteed to be true.
Yeah.
but it's somebody may have to get you in a headlock and start pounding you on the head before you believe it.
There may be an intervention coming, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So give our listeners like an overview of what they can expect to get from this, how this may help and get them focused. I mean, I think everybody needs to take a look at this. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about your plans with the book, your goal with it, because obviously it's the beginning of something. It's not the end of something like with most authors.
Well, so the way this book was born was Robert Scrobe. He consults with my company and he's a longtime friend. We hired him to help us with our membership. And he said, in a membership, people need to know, what are we doing? What are we here for? What is the story we came from? What is the story we're trying to get to? And it has to be simple and clear and unambiguous. And he used the example of Dave Ramsey, like if you get involved in his debt thing, it's like there's these 8 steps. And me trying to figure out, okay, so if I was going to distill everything that I teach and do and all the last 15 years of my career down to like, I don't know, half a dozen things, I don't even know what they are. And Rob's like, let me help you. And basically came up with these 7 things. The seven steps to a new renaissance, basically.
Yeah.
They're literally on the back of the book.
I love it. Go through them if you don't mind briefly, because again, simplicity, but it's brilliant. And each one, there's so much depth.
Well, yeah. And before I go into them, I got to say, Rob really helped me dial this in. I don't think I could have distilled this the way that he did.
Love it.
And these are the 7 things. So what are these? These are the 7 things that are the things, whether you're making 10,000 a year or 10 million a year. And I don't know any other book that could say, these are the 7 things, whether you're like a freelancer hustling, or if you like run $100 million company, I stick by these are, so number 1.
I believe it.
Use Renaissance time to gain discernment and clarity. It's your time in the morning. It's no CNN, no Facebook, no social media, no texting, no emails, none of that stuff. It's like your notebook, maybe it's prayer, meditation, scripture, free writing, but you get your private space to get your head straight before anybody else gets to stick their hypodermic needle in you. Okay? That's number 1. Number 2, make your business twice as profitable with 80-20 focus.
Yep,
Number
we've been talking
3,
a lot about that. Beautiful.
Earn $1,000 an hour, at least 1 hour a day with 80-20 time. People don't believe this is possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
Okay, number 4, create irresistible product that's a joy to use by simplifying. Number 5, carve out a niche where you are the undisputed number 1 via STAR principle.
Yeah, another great book.
You need to be a big fish in a little pond.
Yeah.
Number 6, build an impenetrable moat around your business. This is so important.
Yeah.
It's easy to start businesses. I could do it in my sleep. Businesses that last a long time. That's what's interesting. Number 7, this is actually a step. This isn't just a little rainbow sunset picture, okay?
Yeah.
Enjoy freedom to create and reinvent every single day. That's actually an activity. That's part of the process. It's not just and lean back and stick your feet on a thing and sip iced tea. No. It is engaging in creative endeavors that feed your soul, which will actually feed your business and make this whole thing run even better. Those are the steps.
Love it. And of course, you have details on each one of these things throughout the book and action steps that people can take. I love the story about Mark McShirley's business, what he did with a super simple, kind of non-sexy business, a roofing company.
Yes.
And went from under $1 million a year to now over $10 million a year. And I read through it and I'm like,
5 years.
How many years?
In less than 5.
Wow.
In roofing.
Roofing.
Okay. Look, he didn't start Uber.
Right.
Okay? Right. This is a roofing company.
Right. Were there any one of these steps that stood out for him, do you think? I know all of them are important, but was there anything that was like the thing, you know?
Yes, step 4.
Yeah.
The name of his company. This is not an accident. Roof Simple.
Right. I saw that.
Roofsimple.com. Okay, and what Mark said, he took my work, Richard Koch's work, and here's what happened. He's got a full-time job selling Catholic bulletin advertising.
I saw that.
Gig, man. That is a hot, lucrative gig if I ever saw one, right? Okay.
He's joking. Don't go out and look for that job.
And he's got the side hustle running a roofing company. He's living in his in-laws' basement, and he's taking anxiety pills. And he's like, he has a realization, honey, you know, I get this stuff from Perry. I get this stuff from Richard. I've got this vague idea of how I'm supposed to do this, but I don't have any energy. I've got to sit down. I got to think about how to do this, and I got to do this right. Honey, I'm going to quit my job selling Catholic advertising and bulletins, and our income's going to drop $40,000 a year, and maybe we're going to live at your mom's house for longer, but I am going to go to a coffee shop until I figure out how to run this roofing business the way Perry and Richard say you're supposed to do it. And he did. He quit his job.
Wow.
And he's like, I got my yellow note. I'm going to figure this out. And what he did, he said, buying a roof sucks. And roofing salesmen suck. And roofing companies suck.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make one that's good. And I'm going to make every single touch point that the customer ever experiences, including like dropping nails in their yard. I'm going to make it all a pleasure. I'm going to design this company for 5-star Google reviews.
Love it.
And like from the first search to the phone call to the appointment, all of it, it's going to be a pleasure.
Yeah.
And he did it. He has roofing contractors lined up to subcontract his jobs.
No kidding.
Oh yeah. Like, dude, like this thing is a well-oiled machine. They have 300 Google reviews in Washington, D.C., 4.8 stars.
Wow.
Because they do such a good job. Okay. Now, this could be done in any industry. And these are the kind of businesses that I was talking about, the pizza restaurant. These are the ones that prosper when everybody else is in flames.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And number 4 is like, if it takes 174 tiny little steps to buy a roof, and like all the phone calls and all the emails and all the nonsense, I'm going to chop it down to, 60. And there are going to be 60 pleasurable interactions instead of 174 irritable interactions.
Right.
And I'm going to own this business. And I tell you, Rob, if Mark wants to, Mark could basically own the roofing industry in 20 or 30 states by, 2025, if he wants to.
If he wants to scale it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Very cool. I saw one thing that he did, the on-site concierge. I thought, how brilliant. I mean, we have been doing all kinds of work on our home in St. Augustine. And I mean, it is like pulling teeth. It is so painful dealing with these people. I mean,
yes.
You know, I just want to give them money and just do the work. Just get like a good company could make a fortune. And I guess that's what you're saying about Roof Simple, right? I mean,
and look, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of industries that they're doomed because somebody like Mark is going to show up.
Yeah.
What I'm saying to the people on the podcast today is, do you want to be one of those people?
Yeah.
You want to take something as like, okay, my son graduates from high school and we want an awning in our backyard. And like the friggin' awning company can't even show up with the right awning. Like, okay, like how hard is this, people? Like,
I know.
There's dozens of industries that are just falling all over themselves with like Homer Simpson's buying the donuts instead of installing the awning. Like, just fix it. Like, you don't have to start Uber. You don't have to be you don't need venture capital.
Right.
So.
I love it. I love it. All right, we've been going a long time. Tell me, what's the plan? We'll talk about where people can get it and how can they contact you. But where are you going with this? You know, I'm the book guy, so you know, for me, it's always about where the book is going, where it's taking you. What's the plan with this?
Well, so I got to tell you another story. So Rob is helping me with this book. And this was originally a 150-page book.
No kidding. Wow.
And Rob goes, I want you to send me the book. I got an idea. He sends me the book. He chops it down to 36 pages. He goes, Perry, I 80-20'd your book. Like, seriously, I would have never done this. He goes, I chopped it down to 8,000 words, and I added all these graphics.
They're cool. They're very cool.
They're very cool.
They do. They stand out. They make the point.
It is a 36-page book. Okay, and here's my plan. I have been saying this for years. I want to start another Renaissance, because the one 500 years ago, that was too long. Okay, like, so Da Vinci and Michelangelo, those guys are great. But, you know, every year it was like that much longer ago. Okay, and most people in the world are sleepwalking. Okay, like, they are literally scrolling through Facebook, running into telephone poles as they walk down the street.
Literally doing that.
I want people to stop doing that and see, I believe the portal into a new Renaissance is entrepreneurship, because I find that entrepreneurs are the most wide awake people that I ever meet anywhere.
That's true.
They're the people that are going to do it. Okay. And if you go read about the Renaissance, it was an incredibly entrepreneurial time in the world. Okay. And this is my 36-page manual for a new Renaissance. And it's like, really? You do it like by doing this? Yeah. Yeah. And guess what? It starts with Renaissance time. Yeah. Like, if I got 1 million people to do Renaissance time every morning, I think we would be well on our way.
I agree. I love it, my friend. That went in directions I didn't expect it to. That was a lot of fun. I love the stories. I mean, what else is there other than stories? So thank you. Thanks for spending some time.
Pulling them out of me.
I love it, man. I love it. So where can they get it? Where should they get it?
Just go to Amazon and buy this book.
Okay.
Then when you read it, like, there's all these resources in the book. Sign up for the resources and see where they take you.
Yep.
There's a marketing DNA test. There's an espresso machine calculator where you can, I don't have time to explain it, but believe me, like, it's really powerful.
Right. Yeah, we can't explain it. You just got to go to it. So start with Amazon. Look at the resources. It's Detox, Declutter, Dominate. Man, you're going to love it. And I think really enjoy it. And you and I need to do something together anyway to maybe get this message more to my audience, because I think it's brilliant. I love how you're using the book. I do love the 80-20 of it too, which I still wouldn't have gone through a 150-page book probably, but I was able to go through this a couple of times and really get a lot of cool things out of it. So thank you.
You can read it in an hour, and you could reread it every month for the rest of your life. Yeah. And every single time it would make your business better. So
love it.
Yeah, Rob, this has been so fun. Thank you.
Great to be with you, my friend. I know you're going to be in Florida sometime soon. I'll email you. Maybe there's a chance I could drive over and see you or something like that, coming up at your next thing. But we can talk about that in the coming days. So thank you. Thanks for being on, and thanks for spending time with us.
We will. Thank you.